Okay, there we go. Everything is announced on Discord as well. And with that, I think we can start here. The unknown guy reborn just mouse slipped on the third move, is what he's writing in the spectator chat here with the whisper command. So we had a king g3 symmetry opening and then queen to a7 played. Oh dear me. I'm not sure if Dangerouskid was trying to be polite here, but he declined capturing the queen. So instead queen to a6 back, rook g6, queen c6, knight to d4. This is the current position, and the queen does go off the board eventually after knight to d4. You can play bishop king to c5 now because this would be pinned. But okay, we have knight f1 for no real reason perhaps. Rook to b7, rook to g7 now, and knight f2 by black. It's trying to get some kind of counterplay, but I'm not very optimistic for black's chances in this first game, especially not after that mouse slip. And though it did not cost him the queen, which it should have, he did eventually lose a tempo, which was also just enough to create a losing position here. So Dangerouskid with white, looking good so far. You can play this quite comfortably if you want. Just go for, yeah, even rook f7, king f6, rook to g8 is completely fine. There's plenty of setups possible here. If you play rook to e7, you would have been careful for bishop a3 perhaps, but it all doesn't really matter. King to d6 is completely fine as well. You even protect the knight, which just ensures that black will never have a king a7 option. Other than that, you can move the rook perhaps. Should be pretty simple. To win this with the white pieces, black is just down material, down on piece development because this rook is just completely stuck on b1. And okay, bishop hits the rook, but you are going to move the rook anyway. And even if this adds a couple of complications, like there's still nothing stopping king to a6, f7, just winning the game, or this, also fine. Note that even b8 is covered by the knight, so still really no chances here. For black, that looks like Dangerouskid will be taking game one with relative ease, partially of course assisted by that mouse slip from the unknown guy reborn. But okay, happens, and I just have to play a bit more carefully in the remaining games. Don't expect a double mouse slip to occur. At least I hope not. So king to d7, rook to b8. Now you can't take with the knight because that's check. But okay, I mean there's plenty of other options. Rook to g8 is most natural. Or this. I even forgot about that. That just ends the game right away. Yeah. Bishop takes and king to e8. So Dangerouskid is taking a 1-0 lead here in the series. And the unknown guy reborn has white this time, so let's see what he can come up with. Bishop symmetry for this game, and king f4, king c4, queen h6 main line. So far, Dangerouskid. Main responses are queen to a6 and queen to a8, but king to d5 is a bit unnatural here. Though it is kind of playable, especially after bishop takes b2. It's really not what you want to go for here, I think, because what you're basically allowing is for black to activate their bishop pair, and this will be really strong. Though, of course, white is up a rook for a bishop, and these two pieces, don't underestimate them. At some point, perhaps an early knight to g3 is something you could think of, just to hit this bishop and make sure that black at least loses their bishop pair, because that, like, one bishop is already annoying in a position like this, but two, I wouldn't want to play against that. And okay, knight to c4, knight to d6 is also a pretty solid idea. In general, in these positions, of course. Bishop to g2, yeah, but black will just continue their plan with knight to d6 now. and you cannot take with the bishop. You cannot play knight to d4, will just be captured. So white isn't really producing any threats at the moment. They're kind of sitting back, I feel. At least, well, of course, he must be thinking about something, but the moves aren't that productive at the moment. You don't have a piece on the 7th rank either, which is kind of annoying. This rook is still stuck on b1. So often in these lines you develop both the rooks, but in this case that wasn't possible because there was already a bishop there striking this line, or he just went for other openings first. Got to check something on my... Okay. Yeah. So what do we have? We have knight to g3 by white, but it's a okay, queen a7, knight g3, king to c6. It's a bit too late now. The point is, of course, king to b7, queen to b8, and it should be over pretty soon after that. There's no real way for white to put any material on the 7th rank at this point. And then king to b7, queen to b8 is just completely unstoppable. So nice opening idea, but after king to d5 by black here, really don't take on b2. That's not the best way to go about it. This bishop pair is just too strong. And after that, yeah, this is what we are going to get. You can go for knight takes e4, but whatever you do, it's pretty quickly game over. Queen takes, queen to b8, and what do you want to do? Queen to a3, it's captured. You can also take the rook. Either way, king to a8, and this should be a 2-0 lead for Dangerouskid. Pretty convincing one this game. Despite that the opening isn't technically sound, it worked completely fine. Because bishop b2 in that position is just doesn't work for white. Okay, so first two games go to Dangerouskid, and he has the white pieces for game number 3. Let's see. We had king g3 symmetry in game number 1, so maybe he'll just repeat that line. Okay, no, so we see bishop symmetry this time as well. And queen to h8, slightly uncommon, but completely sound line. Queen to a6, rook to g7, rook to b7. This seems okay, I think. Though not all completely in theory. Seems like a fine position for either side. King to g5 comes to mind. Of course, there's plenty of things you can do here. What's the score? Tommy Nelson, welcome to the stream. The score is 2-0 in favor of Dangerouskid right now. And he has the white pieces for game number 3. Yeah, the only thing about my current stream overlay is that you cannot see the score. I might actually add that to the overlay at some point. I'll be looking into that. But it's kind of hard because my current overlay is cut out in a way that I can show both the clocks and the move list and analysis in this field. So I don't need to adjust for that. But it means that when I scroll down, I can only see like half of the score. I can see the top row, and I cannot see the opponent's score. But okay. Yeah, it's 2-0 in this case. Anyways, I missed a couple of moves. So this was the position where we left off. Bishop g2 by white. And okay. So, of course, threatening to capture. King to d5 seems fine against that. King to d5, bishop g2. Takes, rook takes. At some point you can play knight d4. Even though it's maybe a free piece. just costs a tempo to capture at any moment. Let's wait to move. Of course, you have this rook, which is still kind of stuck on g1. You can aim for rook h1, rook h6 if that's what you want. I think both players with decent chances here in game number 3 could go either way. So knight g3 is a reasonable move. You just want to hit this bishop. And because the bishop is pinned, you can't play bishop b1 to protect. So if you want to, yeah, you have to go for the capture here. And just aim for quick development, which seems reasonable enough to me. Because, well, white doesn't have a direct answer to the 6th rank. This rook is still kind of stuck, despite that, well, g2 is it's not really an improvement over g1. And this knight, you can play knight f5 just to cover this square and be a bit of a nuisance. And if you play knight h5 to f6, it'll also cost you 2 moves. So who knows? I think black is fine, just g6. Of course, you still have to deal with the 8th rank somehow. So even king c6, this, I mean, there's plenty of setups. In general, I would prefer black. You can even keep the king here, because the point is, right now, knight f5 is no, knight f6, I mean, isn't possible. So if you want to develop your rooks first, and for example play this, I don't know, just to hit the queen and potentially trade off a major piece, which means that you will gain more control over the top half of the board. Just make sure to wait with the king advanced, because knight f6 is not even an option for white at the moment. But yeah, I mean, you can play king c6 and then just knight f6, this, that, rook to b8. I think you're still winning for black either way. This piece is just so unfortunately placed. And okay, rook to f7. That's an interesting one. So the point is, well, you get a trade. I'm not sure what the point is beyond that. Because if you go for this now, rook to g7, king to h7, and of course you are a bit cramped, but this rook is completely disconnected from the king, so you will never be able to play rook to b8 in these lines at all. And that will be an issue. If the queen just moves like pretty much anywhere. Yeah, I think black just gave up their winning advantage here, because they can go for anything. Queen to f8, king to h8. There's nothing stopping that. So really just going for the trade with that rook there was not the best idea. You gave up the 6th rank as well as black. And now your king is just in no man's land. This rook is inactive, unable to contribute to the play. There's no way of controlling the h8 square, so as soon as the queen moves, king h8 will be played. There is not even an option of like rook e2, rook to e8. That would have been enough for the draw, but still there's knight in the way. And other than that, the knights are also too slow. Any 2-mover will just be illegal due to check. And if you go for this, I'm just trying to connect with the rook, you're 1 move too slow, as king h8 will be possible right away. So Dangerouskid taking a bit of a lucky to 3-0 lead in the series. I think the Unknown Guy Reborn should have won that with some better endgame technique, but okay. He has the white pieces now. So queen to h6, queen to a8, rook to g7. This is mainline. And most commonly played is rook to b5, though I see queen to c6 quite frequently as well. And rook to b7 has also been being used. King to d5. Yeah, all of these bishop lines are just quite tricky to play. And though this is not the most technically sound one, I think after knight c1 you go king takes d4. Just grab this bishop. Make sure you have control over the center. Score is 3-0 for Dangerouskid at the moment. Won the first two games quite convincingly. The third one was less convincing, but he still won it. And we are going for game 4 right now. The Unknown Guy Reborn has the white pieces. Yeah, of course, the 1 minute delay on the stream will cause a bit of a disconnection between my commentary and the Twitch chat, but we can't avoid that, unfortunately. Okay, so rook b7. TGR is thinking about this move. Bishop to h3. Interesting. So I'm still saying that king takes d4 is a completely reasonable move here, if you're black. But maybe he just chooses to ignore the bishop and goes for this knight c4 to d6 maneuver, which we saw in a previous game as well. Worked pretty well back then. So rook g6 played here. I'm not sure how useful that move is, especially if you just have knight to d6 right away. Of course, you could choose to trade, but rather just keep the bishop and focus on a quick king advance, because king to c6 is coming up. After bishop d7, you can even sacrifice the rook. Rook takes, and king to c6, rook to b7. Looks really threatening, and both of these pieces are now just misplaced on the 6th rank. So I don't think white will be able to hold this, even being up a full rook. Yeah, so rook to b7, if you trade. No. It should just be fine for black. Because if you don't trade, then of course rook to c7. Or just even a rook takes, like this would be a piece. Win the game for black. Yeah. Okay, so we're looking at what should become a 4-0 lead for Dangerouskid. Let's see how this pawn. Yeah, I don't think there's too many chances here. Looks pretty convincing for black. White is up a rook, but the piece placement is just too bad. And black has queen, knight, and rook on the upper half of the board. That's fine. So what could you go for here? King to g5, presumably? Troubled Patso says he's getting an overdose of racing kings today. Yeah, we've had a really long match already between Luca and Seth earlier today. But okay, so king to a7, queen to h8. This rook is protected. The queen would be pinned, and you cannot use the knight. But on the other hand, this bishop f5, and either piece on c8. The point is you cannot take the bishop because that's protected, and if you take the knight, then after king a7, this rook would be hanging. But okay, we see queen to c7. I think that works as well. The point is, after king to b7, now knight c8 is possible. Hello IGH, welcome to the Twitch chat. We are just doing some commentary. The only issue with this is that after king to b7, this knight is still pinned, so you won't be able to win right away. Either way, though, black is just in the driver's seat for this game, so I don't expect anything more than just a bit of technical issues here. Queen c7 is not perfectly thought out. If this remains pinned, it's not an easy way to make progress. Though, okay, like, it doesn't matter that much if you have bishop f5 to c8. And there's no way to stop that. So, the Unknown Guy Reborn, you can do what you want, I think. doesn't make too much difference. You cannot stop bishop f5. Should be the end of the game pretty soon. White is too far back. Oh, that's a creative way. Okay, but still, bishop takes, king takes, and knight c8. So it's a nice way to go about things, but it doesn't work out. Yeah, knight c8. GG. Okay, so 4-0 in favor of Dangerouskid now. Game number 5, he has the white pieces. Let me see. Switch to Discord real quick. Okay, so they are hopefully about to start game 5. Okay, they are. Okay, anyway, so we have king to g3, knight f2, rook f2. First time we see this opening in this match. King a3, king f4, main line so far, and rook to b6. You can play rook to b8 as well. This is a bit trickier, because you're on a light square, always vulnerable to attacks from the bishop. Bishop g2, for example, is played. Do you want to go knight f1, perhaps? With a placement like rook to b7, it might be wise to just go for the bishop trade and say that, okay, you're down 2 knights, but it's not that easy to make them work. Either way though, bishop e4 played, queen to h5, and now we just get this pretty typical trade. All the knights get exchanged off the board, and what we remain with is a pretty standard position where instead of rook to b6 or rook to b8, which would be more common, we just have this rook on b7. That being the only difference. Okay, so rook to g8. Interesting. More often than not, you develop this piece first. Doesn't really matter, I think. Or does it? King to b4 is completely a reasonable development here. At some point you can think about queen to e5, develop this rook maybe. Of course, things are a bit different with the rook on b7. You can play rook d6 if you want. I think that's a reasonable move. If you don't move the rook at some point, there's ideas of pinning it with queen to c1. But, of course, every line has its own ups and downs. Okay, so queen to e5. It doesn't threaten to take the bishop, but still a good idea either way, if you look at the position. I'm not sure what Tommy is talking about in the Twitch chat, but okay. You can play bishop g2 here. Point is, if bishop takes, then the rook is hanging, and if not, then the bishop is hanging. So I would have been in favor of bishop g2 here, but he does miss it. And on the other hand, no, okay, there was no threat, because I was gonna say that after queen e1, this rook is also pinned, so you would have ideas of this. It's always tricky. Yeah, I think actually that would have worked. So best not to go into this with bishop g2 right there. Okay, anyways though, king to g5 is played. Don't think that was a good idea. Just hang the bishop for no reason. Unfortunately, black declines capturing there. It would have been fine to take, and you would only have king to h6 then, after which the queen was hanging as well. Point is, of course, crucially, rook f1 covers the f6 square, and the bishop covers this. But okay, we see rook to b6 by TheUnknownGuyReborn. And now rook g to d8. Presumably double up for this, which he does. Both players are just casually ignoring the fact that this bishop is hanging. Oh my gosh, they're completely ignoring it. Oh, yeah, okay. So that was kind of the key point of the game. You have to capture this piece, and then king h6 is the only option. You take the queen, and black is completely fine. Winning, even. But if both players just miss this, and king f6 can be played for white, white is so much better here. Comfortably winning position. But yeah, okay, so he really should have just captured the bishop. There's no excuses there. Just the only way to get a winning position as black. And now there is nothing left to do. There should be a 5-0 for Dangerouskid. Just king to g7. There is no threats left. Okay, so the unknown guy reborn has the white pieces. Can he avoid the sweep? It's 5-0 already. And Dangerouskid will be looking for a 6th point. King to g3. Let's see. Okay, knight f2, rook f2, or king f4. Oh, rook to b6. So this line is technically not ideal, but it's fine. This is a piece, though. Oh gosh. Both players just missed that the bishop is hanging. You cannot capture with check. So, instead of white being up material, we just get pretty equal middle game. Okay, black has a bishop for a knight, but these knights are pretty active as well. Could go either way, especially with the way this opening was played so far. Rook to c5. Is that the main priority right now? I would go for material if I was white. But, yeah. It's definitely not easy, of course. And the thing is, you don't have a bishop if you're white, which is kind of annoying. And these knights, you'll have to cover b5 at some point. So, king to g5. And then knight to d4 if king to a5, just to win the rook. Queen is still covering the long diagonal, which is really important. So king to a5 would just lose the major piece here for black. Goes knight to b4. So this does stop king a6, but it doesn't win the piece. Like that's the main issue. You can go king takes. And there's nothing wrong with that. It costs a move, but white is running out of pieces and does have the worst development. Both of these players playing quite quickly. Rook d6, yeah, okay. Rook f6, just king to b7, king to b6 as well. And black is so much better. Quite unfortunate that he just completely misses the idea of knight to d4 in these lines. Even now, knight c3 and king to b6, knight takes. The king would be temporarily stopped. Just knight and queen, covering all of these squares. Would be pretty productive, I would say. But queen to h7, what does this do? This just hangs the piece. What are these guys doing? I mean, king to b6 just played instantly. Sorry, but this queen is completely up for grabs. There's no compensation for that. No extra piece that you can win. I have no clue what they're doing there. Is it just a bluff? Or what was he trying to achieve? Either way, it won't work out, as I think Dangerouskid will complete the sweep here. There's no real chances left, unfortunately. King to a7, rook c8, double up, because you have to avoid rook b8 then. But just something like queen c7 will do fine. Even this works. It's not the fastest way to go about it, but who cares if you can just starve your opponent of any material. King takes knight. And okay. Yeah. This is just game over either way though. So looks like we'll have a pretty quick sweep for this game, for this match at least. 6-0. Rook takes, king to b6. Or even king takes knight. Okay. Okay. If they want to just spend a couple more moves on the board, then sure. But either way, the result is pretty clear. Dangerouskid wins this game as well and will complete a sweep 6-0 over the Unknown Guy Reborn. So it was a pretty quick match. Played about half an hour. As sweeps go, it was still a decent length. GG's to both players.